What I would like to do now is to just open it up for questions. So I suggest if you have a question, you unmute yourself and ask the question. And in me answering it, there will be more that will come out. And what I want to say here is every question, every observation is relevant. The fact that it chooses to be expressed, it is in our field and it is going to serve everyone. So don't hold back at all.
Mynoo, hi.
Oh, sorry. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, please.
No, it's okay.
Are you sure? Okay, so you'll be next.
Yes, Olivia.
So, hi. Yeah, I wanted to know how we can energetically help people who may be shocked when things start to be different than they expect, like in a few weeks, perhaps, or a couple months.
It's a very good question, Olivia. And the surprising thing, that was my question also. The surprising thing is, the biggest shock is when the realization dawns on the citizens of any particular town or country that, oh, we have to shift.
Mm-hmm.
That realization is really a bigger shock than what will be the reaction when things do shift. Because the best way to support this is to really spread this message that look at the facts of what is going on. I'm not going around asking you to think positively. I'm just stating the facts. These coexist.
Mm-hmm.
And they coexist because it is time for a new way in which we relate to one another. It is time to shift from command, control, competition to collaboratively co-creating coexistence. And that is what is playing out. There is as much evidence of that as there is of the virus and the mortality that comes with it. So it's really getting more and more of those messages, sharing the photographs from Venice. I mean, I haven't used Facebook for a long time, and I felt compelled to share photographs of a place that I just dreamt about would look the way it looks like now in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, it's amazing.
So things like that. So what happens, Olivia, is when people, and I'm seeing it here, what's happening in India, and I have been talking to people around the world, that's the initial shock of, oh my gosh, it's not just social distancing, guys, it is social isolation. It is social isolation because it is the agenda of the divine. And when you practice social isolation, it only takes from a few hours to a couple of days at most. For people to reconnect to the soul being that they are. As a soul being, there are no blocks. There are no hurdles. You can choose to leave this physical body and go and be eternal. And you have this human form, for the first time, will be connected to and operating from its vibrational frequency of love. How juicy and exciting is that for the soul being?
That's true.
That connection happens very fast.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that we can do, I'm guided to do these calls very regularly. So we'll figure it out, Olivia, how we can get this. Anything that we can do to get that plug-in to take place for people, that's all that's required. Yeah, the world as we know it has already changed, guys, if you didn't know it already. Well, God knows when they were last there. Jill?
Hi. I was just going to say, I don't know if it's it's a little bit of a question actually, but mostly an observation is that what has been happening in the last few weeks is, and you explained it better, but in my head, I kept saying this really, everything is like crystallizing. Things are becoming so super clear. And I think this is like pushing people to the brink. And I'm in a lot of relationships, I'm noticing like, I'm not sure this is the right relation, even like with employees and stuff, like certain reactions to things and not having gratitude and all kinds of things are just sort of coming to the surface. And it's making things very, very, very clear and easy in one way, but difficult in some ways, because I realize that I really have to just shift course. Is that part of what you're talking about?
Absolutely, Jill, and thank you for sharing that, because one of the things that, again, I was shown very clearly was lots of stuff that you would think is unsavory behavior would surface, and it's rising with such speed only to be taken out very fast, right? Because the air element is in action. It gets blown off. Doesn't mean that people change or they don't change. We do, you do. So it's like, okay, whatever, unconditionally accept what is. Let's just keep, holding the ground, keep everything, bunkered down whilst we ride this situation. Well, that's good news. If you can do that, even automatically, you're plugging into the soul being that you are.
Okay.
And the human vibe kicks in, and then that multiplies. That's the clarity that's happening.
Yeah.
And literally the air element is the only thing that could do it, which will blow it off. Now, if the air element, all it did was blow, applied the blow thing off then, and the crowns weren't open, we won't connect in this way.
Right.
It's no accident. Hello, coronavirus, which stands for the virus of the crown.
I know.
It gives us a crown, and there is the Saint Corona, who is a patron saint of pandemics. Right? And the divine is you, and we are going to use the pandemic energy to spread the love vibe connection of being human. May as well. It's there.
So you think when the crown is opened, it's like we will all evolve as human beings? Is that really the point of it?
Well, it's happening even as we speak. The bottom line is our crown. We were born with our crowns open.
Okay.
I mean, teaching someone teaching a human to suckle, it's many, many things involved, and yet a baby knows. Hello, what's that about?
Yeah.
We're born with it open. We shut it up. So all the little prisons or the big prisons or the reinforced prisons or the castle walls that we've been walking around with, when you have to walk around to hold them in place.
Yeah.
And when you don't hold them, they disappear without a process.
Right.
It's a very exciting time to be alive. It's, each one of us at a soul level, this was not going to be the easiest time to be alive. And we've chosen to be at this time for a reason. And now we don't even have to figure it out. Because the only purpose of life, and I've been saying this for a while, there is only one purpose to life, which is to come alive. And you just keep coming alive. And to bring your mind along, we do the work that we do to understand the autopilot and the source and all that sort of stuff. And all that stuff helps. Bottom line is, it's time to come alive. And when mortality is threatened, and the exciting thing is, it isn't threatened in one little village or one country. Everybody is being brought on the same playing field. You may be rich, you may be famous, you may be poor, you may be whatever. We are all impacted in the same way, and we are going to do it together without being in each other's faces. No peacocking is even possible.
Yeah.
Who could orchestrate that? Like literally at a level of nuance. If we had to design something that would achieve that transmutation impact, solve the environmental crisis situation, clean the pollution, that air pollution that is damaging the ozone layer, get the waters cleaned out. I mean, there'd be so many things that you would have to think about. Many we won't even be able to think about, because all we can do is think based on what we know in the past. But actually, our past knowledge doesn't go far enough. What you needed is the past from the time that the earth was created. I've talked about time collapse technology, and I kept saying, I'm receiving it, I'm trying it out. And the time collapse technology was really a 2-point collapse. It's like, take the world as it was when it was created, in its pristine existence, and take what's there now. Bring those 2 points together, erase the vibration of what's there now, and all the environmental problems go away. Just like that, right? Olivia, Tammy, Catherine, you've heard me talk about this stuff. What's happening now? That's what is happening. So within days, Delhi is at air quality levels of California. And we have fluffy Simpson crowds over the slums in Mumbai. They have not seen anything but gray sky for I don't know how many years. And dolphins in Venice and so on. The best of human behavior is yet to be seen. Just watch it, as kindness spreads. Care takes hold. So many systems and structures are going to change beyond recognition, which is what Olivia is talking about. And for that to happen, how people are very resistant to change? Well, it's in your face. It's all around you right now. You're in a mega boot camp, if there was one. And you are being powered up by your soul presence, fueled with the vibe of being human, which is love. And you're prepared. So when the new world shows up, and literally this is the point, all we have to do is to show up in our soul presence. Everything transforms around us, and it is doing it. We haven't needed hundreds of thousands of people, of workers flying, increasing the carbon footprint to go clean the Venetian canals. It's happened. And it's not magic, because the nature does reclaim itself. Our human bodies are nature, just as nature is. Our human body is designed to reclaim itself. This is our opportunity. We just have to get into that soul being vibrational frequency, present to being love, and voila. This is where we are. This is where we are. This is what is really going on. There have been so many talks. Again, I keep saying, look, it's time to. This isn't a journey of going home. This is a journey of coming home to you. And it's time to take that power back to you. Take that power back to you. Don't give it to the weather or anything at all. You are the one that chooses everything that occurs. And that is what is being enabled right now. We are starting to recognize that we are the all-powerful one. And there is balance in that. So now when we emerge into the new world, we can be powerful and yet be balanced. People ask me, when is this going to go away then? How long is this going to last? The carriers that are the ones that are propagating it and will keep it in place for a long time. The carriers are those that just are holding on to their old ways. So the moment this crisis lifts, they'll go back to the old ways. So really all that is happening now is that the divine is working its way through so that humans won't just be able to go back into the way the things were before. Once we achieve that crossing of the threshold, it'll be gone just like that. Yeah, just come home to you. Yes.
If we're given this time to connect to ourselves, how can we spend this time most efficiently to connect to our soul being vibrational frequency? How do we actually do that? Is it
Yeah.
meditation? Is it?
Yes. Karen, there are various things that can be done. It's quite useful to have a morning practice, and then you can revisit that morning practice multiple times. And it's also a very powerful time and opportunity to really release any cellular programming stuff that may be holding on to the negative connotation of fear and things like that. But those are deeper processes. As a minimum, something that everyone can do. I will take you through what I call as an alignment breath. That's a very powerful way to start your morning and end your day. And you can tap into that anytime during the day. So I'll share that with you. There are several meditations that are also available on my website, which I'll have Catherine share with you all. And everybody whose email addresses are there, I can just send you some of those. There is one which is a very sweet one. Remember, I was not a meditator. My brain was like, I just couldn't settle my mind for the longest time. So sitting quiet for 10 minutes was like practically impossible. So I created my own version of a meditation, which allowed me to do that. And then I was able to go deeper. So, you can certainly go in and do the start of the day meditation. Then you can go in and do others that are there as well. There's one which is about pain. There are various clearings. These are all the things that you can do. We'll share that information with you. But having a morning practice, which is simple, that you can do consistently, will be hugely beneficial, that you can also tap into during the day. That's hugely beneficial.
Thank you.
I've got a question.
Yes.
So I appreciate what you do for us. I just want to say that at first. And I understand about the coronavirus being the crown and everything sounds really good. Where I'm a little bit confused is we talk about the divine.
So are you a little confused about what I mean
But
by
my
the divine?
understanding, no, the virus was developed by a human, and so a human. And I could be wrong, but that's what I've heard. And so a human being has initiated all this. And how does that tie into it being a divine measure that's going through?
Yeah. So it's what I'm being shown, and I talk about what I'm being shown as opposed to trying to have a scientific evaluation of that. What I'm being shown is it was created by humans for a very specific purpose. And humans use their ways of propagating that by, really tapping into vibrational frequencies that actually debilitate humans. So then it's easier to command and control them. So given that those were the actions of humans, the divine energies, rather than working against that, they're actually also showing us what happens when you work with something that has already begun, right? So rather than spend the energy on overcoming inertia, this thing is already set in motion. The divine energies are actually coexisting with it and utilizing it as a force for good, as opposed to something that was going to damage, which was the original intention of this thing. That is how the play is, playing out. That's what I'm seeing. And when I was shown this long before all of this played out like this. I didn't know how it would actually appear. And then I started, because my mind is such that I'd really look for evidence in real terms, and the evidence is showing up so rapidly to realize that, okay, yes, the divine energies are literally using that which has already been begun and propagated by humans, because this time their focus is the transformation and reinvention, in some cases, of the humans. So they're using what humans have created, stuff that they can relate to, but actually having the impact that enlightens and uplifts them, as opposed to weakens them, where they can be commanded and controlled. That's how it's playing out. Yeah, and thank you for asking this question. From my perspective, and I go into that kind of questioning a lot myself. So when I go into that kind of questioning, when I start seeing evidence, and then I start connecting the dots, and it still doesn't make logical sense. I've learned to allow. I've learned to say, okay, what's happening is a force for good. I unconditionally accept what is, and I make it, like one of the things that I do, a segment of my time, to really seek out evidence of how it is showing up as a force for good. Because, really magical, miraculous things are possible when this is happening. It also gives me an opportunity to share that there are various religious, spiritual sects that have talked about 2020 year as being the year that the planet comes to an end. And what I have shared in my groups before is, because people have been afraid of that, and now this thing is showing up in the way it is. What I have been shown is, this is the year that humans see the world for what it truly is. If it is the end of the world, then it's the end of the matrix world. And we will see the world for what it truly is: wonderful, full of wonder, colorful, divinely guided, with the lightness of being, and totally miraculous. That is what is playing out right here in front of our eyes with such speed.
Hello, Mynoo.
Hello?
Hi, this is Renel. I just wanted to say thank you for this talk, because it's been very, I think this is a much needed thing that I personally need to hear, that everybody needs to hear, because it's such a positive perspective on all these, in the sea of all these negativity and fear mongering and pessimism that pervades the air. And it reminded me of when I first met you in January, when you said that, I cannot exactly remember your words, but you said that this is going to be a significant year, and I think this is probably one of the things you're talking about, right?
Yes.
It's been an upheaval, and the way that I had been thinking about it was, from a very negative point of view, because that's all that I could think about. And then yet at the same time, I noticed that it has been easier for me to meditate. And I think it may have something to do with all these, it feels that it's a lot more quiet. You know what I mean? I mean, I live in LA, and LA is full of noise, all kinds of noise. And I think this pandemic has quieted things down a lot, like you've been saying, all over the world. It's cleaning up not only the environment, but I think it's cleaning up the psychic noise that's been all over the place. And for that reason, and for your perspective, I'm grateful. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the beauty of this time is, it is really calling all of us to just unconditionally accept what is. We are where we are because of all that noise, there's certain deliciousness that each one of us has, certain quirkiness that we have. As you start being present to yourself, you start noticing those things. You learn to laugh with yourself. It's come from all that noise out there. It's giving us an opportunity to really practice this new muscle of unconditional acceptance of what is, and choose to move forward. Because what else is there to do? Standing in one place, is crushing. You're going to move forward. You may as well do it in being connected to the eternal, expansive soul being that you are. This is the opportunity. We would never get anything like this. I mean, just that alone says that there is something hugely divine about what is occurring, started by this thing that we're calling the coronavirus, the virus of the crown, I call it.